That is the ultimate question. The way I support my clients and the animals is I really tune in with the animal and feel into what do you need and what do you want, right? And I want to be very clear here. There is an element of choice for the animal. There are also elements of instincts, So for example, a lot of cats, if they had they would go hide somewhere outside and never return because that is their instinctual template, right? And because they're domesticated, we say, no, I don't want to not know where you go into the bushes and don't come home, right? So for me, it is important that I honor where my animal is at. And that can change from 1 hour to the next, from one day to the next, when they're very, very, very ill. I worked with someone yesterday with a super sick dog, and they wanted to schedule the euthanasia. And there are still a few things that their dog needs to have completed. I don't know how many more days, or maybe it's another week. This animal is very, it's a very progressive disease that they have. They're paralyzed now. They were on a Zoom call with me yesterday. And so, but the dog was like, wait, there are still a few things that I need to get closure about. And in this particular case, it was about the death of another animal that they had witnessed. And they were like, I need to have some closure around that before I can release myself, right? So for me, it's important that we consider the concept that it's not just our decision, that we can make a joint decision. Granted, if you have a sudden situation such as a dog gets run over by a car or so, which is a horrible, horrible thing, that might have been karmically a choice point, but that is not a time to talk a lot about, oh, they didn't, la, 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 la. That is just, it's just you deal with shock and grief, both, right? In a situation where we anticipate a decline and a demise, and it gets closer, cancer, or all these diseases that at this point in time, we don't have a cure for. I very carefully calibrate what is the animal feeling and thinking, where do they want to be, how do they want to exit, and how can we work with a guardian. And I also take into consideration we all have different belief systems. There are people that say, I will never euthanize. It is in alignment with my religious or spiritual beliefs. There are people say it's inhumane. There are all these things, right? Where we want to know, what is your belief system? And within that, how can we honor the bond that you have, and how can we honor the timing, right? In many cases, it is clear, and in many cases, it's not clear, depending on how the fluctuations are of the illness. We have good days, we have bad days, right? And again, we're all programmed to think we know, and they give us the look. And I have people who say they gave me the look. I've had the look or the kind of sign in my household too. And I had other situations where it went on and on and on and on. So for example, when you have an animal with dementia, very often they don't give you the look because their brain is in a very different sphere and the body does really strange things. I hospice fostered a dog with advanced dementia. Did she give me any looks? No, she was all over the place, right? And she was very ill. She was very ill also, that's hospice foster. So in a lot of the sessions that I do, we are just fine-tuning. What are loose ends? What kind of closure do you need? What can you do for them that comes from this pure love that we all have, and that isn't based on what everybody tells us to do? Because that can be burdensome, can be very burdensome. You and only you have that connection. It isn't always crystal clear. And I say, when you do make a choice with your pet that comes from this pure place of love, you can do no wrong. They know how pure you are. They know it better than you do because they are pure beings.